welcome to the Average Angler's Shed. And we're looking today at mixing some ground baits. And we're looking, so those of you that follow my channel will know that I've got myself a goodie bag from my sponsors, the Pellet Guys, and I'm just going through things. Now one of the things I'm using at the moment is this dark expander. As you can see, I've nearly used it all. But also what's come with this is the Tom Thick Intelligence Range dark expander, but what also came is the Tom Thick natural expander, which I've spoken to Tom. These two products are both pure expanders, just a bit of dye added to the dark one to darken it down, but the dye does stay with it because I've used it and just stay dark. And then I've got two from the Pellet Guys No Nonsense bait range. This is a crushed dark expander. Again, I spoke to Paul about this 100% expander in here, but this expander he recommends for catching bigger fish. It's got blood meal in it as well as fish meal in it, and it's very, very dark. And then we've got also the crushed Coppins expander, which is slightly darker than the natural Tom Thick one. And again, on top, they've assured me that is 100% expander, so you know exactly what in there is what you're getting. So generally speaking, you don't really use expander baits this time of year much. You might do, but a lot of people use them in the summer for doing things like making clouds in the water or whatever, because what happens is expander fluffs up, absorbs loads of water. It's a really fluffy, really nice mix. You can use it for if you over wet it, you can use it like a slop to bring fish up in the water. It's one of the best things for doing that. You know, when F1 fishing, these guys that they throw a ball of slop and put the rig in the middle, these expander mixes are the best for that. But I've been using it, as I said, I've been using it, it's winter now, and I've been using this one because it's dark. I have actually also used the natural one once, and I probably will, because I'm nearly out of this. I'll probably mix them 50-50 next time I'm going to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I mix it. I'm going to take I'm going to take a bag, mix it for you on video, but I'm not going to do all 4 bags in front of you because we'll just be here all day watching me mix bags, but I'll do them exactly the same. And I'm not going to mix too much because I don't want to waste ground bait. So I've got myself a container, and if you look at that container, I'm hoping you can see it on the camera, but it's filled up to about just under this lip, so there's this much not full, and then the rest of it's full all the way down. So I'd say it's like 4/5 full of water, and I'll put that in there. I'm going to use the Tom Thick one on the camera because it's nice and light and it'd be probably easy to see on the camera. And what I do is I want this all the way to the top, so I'm using ever so slightly more expander. I've tried 50-50, and to be honest, you can just about get away with it with the Tom Thick one 50-50, but the other two, the No Nonsense ones, that the expander that they use there, obviously not quite as absorbent as this expander, and so you can't quite get away with it. But to be honest, it mixes better. I think the mix is better even from the Tom Thick one if you just do it like this, not quite 50-50. So what by that I mean is I filled this 4/5 with water, but I'm now going to fill it all the way to the top, maybe a little bit more, with ground bait. So I know that I've got more ground bait than I have water by volume when it's dry. Now traditionally with ground baits, and you can do it with this as well, and a lot of people do, if you watch Des Ship, he'll put it in, add water, and he'll whisk it. What I've been experimenting with and what's been working with me, and this is great if you're at the bank and you want to do it quick as well, is you just put all of that straight into the water like that and just mix it. Get enough bits out and just mix it, and it's like you're mixing a paste. You want to try and get all the particles as wet as you can quickly, and you're thinking, that's ruined it. But what you've done is you've got every single particle saturated, which is what you need to do with expander anyway. And you can see already live on camera there, I've not sped this up or anything, this is happening as we speak. It's thickening right in front of your eyes, and that will continue to thicken now. But what you know for sure is that every single particle in there is going to be nicely absorbed, or fully saturated and nicely absorbed all the water, which means when you feed it, it'll go straight to the bottom. And all you've got to do is riddle it. When you come to use it, you need to leave it for about 50 minutes. So I'll show you when we come back. We'll come back in 50 minutes, and we'll riddle it, and I'll show you what it looks like. But what I'm going to do off camera, rather than repeat this process in front of you, is I'm going to do the same for each of the products. Now, I'm not going to do it for the dark expander because I haven't got enough and I want to use it for myself, which, you know, and I'll go through, when we come back, I'll go through what I've been using the dark expander for. But yeah, so I'll just do these two now, and then we'll come back after, when you come back, it'll be 50 minutes later, and we'll have these two mixes done. You'll be able to see the difference in colour and how dark these two Pellet Guys ones are, because they are really, really dark. And then we'll riddle them, and we'll see what, and we'll actually put them in the water and see what the difference is. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, I want to see the dark expander. The dark expander is darker than the Tom Thick, but not quite as dark as these two, but it's still dark, and it'll absorb exactly the same as this. It's the same product with a bit of dye in. So what this does on the riddle, the dark will do. So that's that. Sorry, like I say, I haven't got enough on me at the moment to show it you all. So when you come back, I will have 3 tubs of this all soaking up. Right, we're back. It's at least 30-40 minutes later. It might be a bit longer. I didn't measure it exactly, but certainly be less time than you'd need at the start of a match. If you've done this at the start of your match, this is what you'd be faced with. Right, let's have a look. So this one that we're looking at now is Natural Expander from Tom Thick Intelligent Range. Like I say, the dark one, which I haven't got much left of, does mix up exactly the same, but you can see it's a lot darker, much darker than that. Okay, it's more like a greeny colour. When it mixes up, it's a little bit greeny, like a green sort of, you know, there's plenty of green ground baits out there. It's like a light green, not light green, it's not like a vivid green, it's like a subtle green. That's what I meant, not light. So you can see it's crumbly. Pick that up. It's not like a paste, so we haven't ruined it, and it's already crumbling back into those individual pieces of expander, because what you essentially got here is 1 million pieces of expander, or maybe more, billions of pieces of expander. Perhaps I wouldn't dare to guess. So I'm going to get it all out of the tub. I'm going to riddle it. I feel like, in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get that little bit there that's like not been riddled. I'm going to make a little ball out of him. I'm going to stick him to one side a minute. I'm going to test, because I'm not sure myself how that performs versus the riddled, because with this expander it breaks down so well. I wonder whether even this riddling's worth the effort, but we'll have a look. So I'm going to push it through. This is a pinky riddle. I tend to only have one riddle, and it's usually a pinky, and it's just a pinky riddle. So I find I can even riddle maggots with this. The maggots will crawl through it, so it's not a problem. So it does everything, and I don't see the point in having I think the coarse ground bait ones are just too coarse. They don't really do anything unless you've got a really, really big particles in your mix. But at the moment, I've never found the need for one. That doesn't mean I won't in the future, but at the moment I don't have a need for one. All right, drop that. So that, now look at that fluffy. And so I'm going to get another ball and just squeeze it again. We're going to test them in a minute, these balls. If you're wondering what I'm doing, put him to one side as well. Brilliant. Well happy with that. That is absolutely beautiful. It's going to sink like a brick. It's going to fluff up. It's going to be perfect for the fish. It's going to break down rapid. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Really soft. It's weird. It's not like other ground baits expander. If you've never used it before. Right. Let's put that to one side a second so it's out of the way. Just put it here. It's just out of shot there. Right. Next one we're going to look at is this one, which is No Nonsense Crushed Coppins Expander. That's what it's called. So I'm assuming that's exactly what it is, because when I spoke to Paul, he said it's It's all expander in here, because I wanted to make sure I was telling the truth before I said it's all pure expander. I didn't actually know, because I obviously don't have access to the recipes for these ground baits. So again, it's crumbly. That's a really compacted piece there, so I'm just going to stick him to one side as well with the others, just to see what the difference the riddling makes. Then we'll riddle that through. Some of you have riddled ground bait before will know the difference that riddling can make, but sometimes when you put into practice, riddling versus not riddled, it doesn't make a lot of difference. I know. But some ground baits it makes more difference than others. So again, lovely, light, fluffy, quite a lot darker than the Tom Thick Natural. No dye in this one. I think this is the colour that they come. There's no dye in that one. That's the colour that they come. Very, very similar in feel and texture. And then I'm going to make a little ball from the that's for testing in a minute. We've got some little light flecks in it, but that's because I've just accidentally put some of the Tom Thick stuff in with it. But lovely, totally. Wow, be very happy to use that. And finally, crushed dark expander. Now I'm expecting this one could be the one that's a bit different, because it's a different sort of bait that I've not seen before. It's already feeling a little bit sticky, but it's not too bad actually. It's got a much more potent smell than the others. It's not a smell that's attractive to a human. So it doesn't make you want to eat it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make a fish want to eat it. So yeah, there's definitely a different texture to this altogether. Feels like there's lots more oil, and you can see why they say this would be better for a big fish. I'd almost, you know, I'm told that this is made by an expander that is exclusive to the Pellet Guys. That's as much as I know about it. And it's got a bit of blood meal in it, and that's probably where that sort of reddy brown comes from. That blood meal probably is where the redness comes from. But you can feel there's a bit more oil to that. That's going to be slower to break down, I think. So you know, that's not a problem. It's just you have to bear that in mind in your application, what you're doing with it. This might be something that you can add to other ground baits if you want to make them more attractive to bigger fishing, especially in the summer. It's not going to be right for my application, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute, but it'll be all right in other applications. So it has fluffed up again. It's just that little tiny bit tackier, I think. But actually, now I've riddled it, this might be a mix that benefits a lot from being riddled. And also, it might be a mix that gets to the bottom better. There we are. Move that mix out of the way. Right, there you can see that nice. I just wanted to see how that's looked on my screen. Give me a second. Get all the excess crap out of there. Get a bit of water in this bucket, in this bowl. Could have done it in the bucket, but the bucket's got a little bit of crap in it, so I want to get rid of as much of that as I can. Right. What we have now then are, I'm going to put in the 3 balls of ground bait. See, it's pretty obvious to tell. The lighter one, the medium one and the darker one. And then the lighter one, the medium one and the darker one. Let's have a look, see if you can see them on the camera. Brilliant. So, unriddled these 3 and riddled these 3. We've got the Tom Thick expander. We've got the crushed coppins, and then we've got the dark expander from from Pellet Guys, those two. They're all breaking down reasonably quickly. But what is interesting is I don't feel, oops, moving it a little bit and creating a little bit of a current there, which is probably more reflective of reality. The riddled mixes are ever so slightly breaking down faster, but not by a significant amount, which, if I'm honest, is what I expected, because when you feel it's really hard, as long as you don't really over wet them, it's really hard for them not to see. The Tom Thick one there that was riddled, he's pretty much broken down already, and he isn't quite broken down the unriddled Tom Thick one. That was like the corner of the tub where it had really compacted down, but it's still going to break down. It's not going to be a problem. I mean, in the application that I'm doing, I don't think either would matter. As I suspected, this reddy sort of the darker one, definitely a bit more binding properties to it, and then the crushed Coppins one is actually breaking down quite well. He's not far behind. There we are. There's 3 mixes. The Tom Thick dark one would sit between these two in darkness. It's not quite as dark as the crushed Coppin, but it's definitely a lot darker than that. But like I say, I haven't got enough on me at the moment to demonstrate that. These 4 now are pretty much just piles of dust, and the dark expander from No Nonsense is still, I can actually feel a ball when I touch that, whereas these, there's nothing. I'll just go straight to the bottom. It's just a pile of dust. Tiny little bit of hard middle on that. Nothing on that. So there we have it. So what have I been using them for? Because, like I said, so if you've been watching, look at that, if I give it a swirl around there, you can see that if there's a fish getting involved in that, it's getting, you know, look how that's broken up. And even those red ones now are pretty broken up. See, those particles are moving around and mixing together now. Gonna get rid of that in a second. Dirty hands. On the towel, there we are. So, what have I been doing with it? Well, I'm trying to perfect a bit of an approach for skimmers with pellet. And what I wanted to do is put a ground bait in that is like pellet. I want it all to be pellet. And obviously, I know that skimmers love expanders. I've got a lot of confidence in expander, so I wanted to use expander ground bait. And I'll show you with the Tom Thick what I'm doing. So I might, at the start, I'm potting in probably only about that much. That's what I've been doing on some of my, on certain lines on my silvers fishing. And if you watch the last couple of batches, I've been all right on the silvers, but I have been making a few mistakes with this, and I'll talk you through in a minute. So, yeah, do a start like that, and then put in some pellets of your choice that you like, soaked, but not many. You know, we're talking 2 mils, 1 mils, 2 mils, sort of maybe 3 mils if you're feeling positive or you've got big skimmers. And then just fish that out over the top and see what you get, and then top it up as you go. Now, when you're topping up, when it's hard, topping up with that, maybe even less than that. Hardly, you know, it rattles around in your small. It's probably more like that. It's rattling around. It's like a big pea. And then like a pinch of 2 or 3 micros. Go over that. See if you can nick a fish. Maybe you can nick 2 fish before you top up. Sometimes you can nick several fish. Mistakes I've been making are not been, as you can see, the ball breaks down, and I haven't been squeezing it hard enough. So I've been giving it a gentle squeeze like that. And then if it's falling through 6 foot of water, a lot of it's breaking up. And I feel like it's, for some reason, at the moment down here with the weather, skimmers have been inclined to come off the deck. And I feel like that's caused a few to come off the deck. So the last time I did it, which was at Acorn, where I actually caught a couple over it, as I did a ball like that. Squeezed it quite hard. but we know that that will still break down because I've just demonstrated it. So it went bump straight down, and then it will just break down on the bottom, and I just feel like that pinned them down a little bit. And that, I think that was, although I didn't win there, I felt like that was the most successful I've made that line work, even though I only had a couple of fish off it. But if you look and looked at the silvers results, I wasn't far away. The guy that won the silvers was on the peg next to me, and he had like a 2.5 pound tench, which bumped his weight up. So, you know, you can't, sometimes you can't legislate for that. Somebody gets a 2.5 pound tench, comes into the swim, and then he jumps up the weight. But other than that, I was close to the other weights. I think the other weights that were just behind him were 4 pound weights, and I had 3.15, and I wasn't fishing for silvers all day. And I caught most of my fish over this line, really negative, really negative. Plop it down and nick a few, and I feel like it's something I'm exploring at the moment. And there's an up and coming match at Plantation, which will probably be following this video this Thursday coming. So I've got one more match at Acorn following this video. Tuesday, another Tuesday open. So whether I decide to fish for carp or fish for silvers, I don't know yet, but I'll probably be trying this again. But I might try it down the middle at Acorn. I think the reason I didn't get attention was because I didn't fish down the middle. I tried to fish at the bottom of the far slope, and I feel like maybe down the middle might be better for getting the chance of attention on certain pegs anyway. So I'll give that a go. That's another little learning. And then at Plantation, I've only been there once, and I drew a really poor peg. But I was told that I didn't. Well, it wasn't a really poor peg, but it's a peg that can produce occasionally. And Tony caught well off it on a previous match, Tony Rickson, and so I was under the impression that I was doing it wrong, so I weren't catching skimmers. But I actually read Tony's write up afterwards, and he caught a lot of roach. And when I tried this, I did get bites on it straight away, but then I feel like I topped it up too aggressively and blew it there as well. I ended up catching not very little. I think I had like 14-15 pound or something, which is nice days fishing, but it was not competitive. The weights were better than that, and I don't think skimmers were the right way for me to go on that day. But like I say, I'm messing about with this at the moment, combinations of this stuff with small pellets, then fishing micros over the top. Know that Jamie Hughes, for example, has had some success with this kind of approach. So I'm trying to work out what works on my venues for me, because obviously where he is at the moment is a lot colder than me, because he's up north a bit more. It's been cold. It's not been quite so cold down here in Somerset.